Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to make a few fun wood and metal projects together. If you're wondering where to find any of the paint and products or my flips from today's video, they'll all be listed on my site, upcycledbybrie.com. And don't forget to check me out on social media. I post daily over there if you're looking for even more amazing content.
I've had these spools in my stash for quite a while. And then I also have these metal pieces. They came off some old bar stools. I used the bar stools for other purposes, but I did save these because they turn. My plan is to turn these spools into some Lazy Susan style risers. To get them prepped, I sanded off some old dust and flocking that was on them from Christmas time, still apparently, wiped them down with some water and Dawn dish soap, and then I went ahead and sealed them up with some spray shellac. That way, if there was any yucky stuff left on them, it would all be sealed up well. Then I got to cleaning up the metal pieces. One of them was able to turn really well after using the WD-40. The other one was really just rusted, stuck shut, so I discarded that one. I've got one left. I attached it to this piece of wood using some screws. Once it was attached to the wood, I flipped it over and attached the other metal side to the bottom of the spool. And I wanted to let y'all know you can find these inexpensively on Amazon and turn just about anything into a Lazy Susan. I'm giving the spool a coat of DIY Gypsy Green. It is a beautiful industrial green color, and the other two spools that I'm making over are getting a coat of Black Velvet and Prairie Gray. Here's a look at all of the spools after they have dried. We are going to take them out back and sand them down a little bit, a little distressing with some 220 grit sandpaper. The black spool is going to get a Jamie Ray Vintage stencil. This is the American Agriculture stencil, and I'm using a DIY tarnished pearl. I've got a 3/8 inch stencil brush, and I'm using a very, very dry brush to do this stencil. I apply a little paint to the end. I offload most of that paint onto a cloth, and then today I'm using a swirling method to apply the paint over my stencil. This did take 2 coats with the tarnished pearl. I let the first coat dry, I placed the stencil back in place, and went for a second coat. Notice I'm just using a small piece of the stencil. I love how big this one is. You can really mix and match the words and get a very unique look every time you use it. Have you ever used a JRV stencil before? Drop me a comment down below. Once it's dry, you can see I got a nice, crisp, clean image. I am going to distress it down just a little bit with some 220 grit sandpaper to give it an authentically old look. Then I've grabbed my DIY clear wax, which is a super buttery smooth wax. It is hands down my favorite, and I'm applying it to all 3 spools with a clean, dry cloth. Just a little bit goes a long way. If you have any excess wax, wipe it off, and the wax will dry in about 24 hours. Your paint might appear a bit splotchy when you first apply the wax. Don't panic. After 24 hours, it will even right back out. You'll see in the final pictures. To give these spools a final finished look, I am using some hot glue and some of the jute rope from the Dollar Tree and gluing it around the middle section. I ran out and didn't quite have enough, so one of the spools I used some old strapping, which gave it a super industrial feel, and I do love the way it came out. Let me know down below, do you prefer the spools with the rope or the industrial strap? I like them both, it's hard for me to decide. And here's a look at the final product. These risers are a great way to style decor in your home, or if you have a booth space or a shop, a great way to add height into your vignettes. How would you style one of these risers? And here is the one that I turned into the Lazy Susan. I have fruit on it right now, but you could also do something like spices in the pantry or even makeup and lotion in a bathroom.
If you're wondering where to find any of the paint products or my flips from today's video, they'll all be listed on my site, upcycledbybrie.com. And don't forget to check me out on social media. I post daily over there if you're looking for even more amazing content. Also, a huge thank you to Melissa Morrow from Vintage Bee Design. I was at Creative Con a couple of weeks ago down in Jacksonville, Florida, and she sent me home with a couple of the brand new transfers from Redesign by Prima. I'm really excited to use these. We're gonna see where we can incorporate them into today's projects, and I will be sure to link a link down in the description box below if you'd like to check the transfers out for yourself.
I got an idea to make some elevated decor boards, so I'm starting out by cutting down this big piece of free wood. That first piece broke, which is no worries because y'all know I like to repair these as well. Now I'm using my jigsaw to cut out one side of the handle. I will then take that piece and mirror it on the other side of the wood so my handles are even on both sides. Then I use these large wood bits on my drill to drill bigger holes through the handles of my decor boards. 60 grit sandpaper around the edges to really smooth them down. And then I use a 200 grit sandpaper across the board because I'm going to be sealing these and putting the transfers on top. I'm going to elevate my boards using some scrap 1x2s I had left over. I cut them down, used some wood glue and my pneumatic nail gun, and now I have decor boards. They're elevated about 2 inches. To seal them up, I'm going to be using DIY Liquid Patina and one of these super handy circular sponges. If y'all haven't tried these before, I highly suggest it. It makes it so much easier. I do have them linked down in my Amazon shop as well. I did 2 coats of the liquid patina and let them dry overnight. Really, it only would need a few hours to dry completely. Then I took them upstairs and opened up the beautiful transfers. Y'all, I am loving these already. This is the Natural Flora, and I will link the names down below as well. And the other one is Botanica Ferns. I'll leave Melissa's link if you'd like to check them out for yourself. I cut the transfers into smaller pieces and began by just arranging them on the board and getting a feel for my design. Once I was sure, I started by layering the pieces I wanted on the bottom first. I play around with positioning a little because as soon as it's down, you have to commit. Once I have it on, I use the included wooden stick and I start rubbing the transfer onto the wood. You'll see it start to break off of the plastic and you'll know it's sticking. I also like to take the transfer down around the edge of my projects if I can. I think it gives it a more natural, authentic look, just like it belongs there a little bit better. You'll also notice that all of my transfers touch each other across the whole board. I think it makes it look like a more complete image. It's the same process here with the ferns, but I did all of them grouped together down in the lower left-hand corner. So notice on each board I did have some free space where it was just wood and no transfer. That way you can actually use them for decor. You can set your decor somewhere on them and it won't cover up your image. I did not distress these transfers. I liked the clean, crisp image, but you could run a very high-grade grit over them if you wanted them to look distressed. I did, however, take another 2 coats of liquid patina over the top to seal them. For the bottom of the board, I used Sweet Pickins Beeswax, which is another one of my favorite waxes. It has a super creamy consistency too. It's going to nourish that dry wood. You can also use it to seal paint. It also helped blend the edges in with the top so they didn't look like fresh cut boards. And here's a look at the final boards. Drop me a comment below which transfer is your favorite, the flowers or the ferns. And don't forget to check out Melissa's link if you'd like to grab some for yourself. Thanks again, Melissa. I love how these boards came out. If y'all have been following along over on social media, you saw me cut apart this trunk and salvage the metal pieces. Of course, that board that broke off right in the beginning, I knew would be perfect to use these pieces on. So we are going to glue it up back together, but then do faux repairs with this beautiful salvaged metal. Be super careful when you're doing this project. I should have had my gloves on, totally forgot. Make sure you're wearing your goggles as well. I just hammered the pieces down till they were pretty flat and used the old rusty nails that I pulled out of the trunk to put 3 pieces onto the board. Then I took it upstairs, used that same clear beeswax from Sweet Pickins and a little bit of dark Decrepit dust, which is a really fun way to age your paint or your wood. It's a powder form. It doesn't take very much and you just sprinkle it over wax or apply it with a brush like this. I put a little bit around the metal pieces as well for a unique aged effect. Now it is time to knock 3 more baskets out of my basket stash. First, I'm going to cut down some pieces of this plywood I also had in my stash to fit the bottom of these baskets. I used a jigsaw as well to round out the corners. I'm going to attach the wood to the bottom of the basket to make them nice and sturdy using some screws and also these washers to keep the screws down in place. Once the wood is screwed onto the basket, I flip it over and use wood glue to glue the legs in place. I let it all dry overnight. The next morning, I am now drilling wood screws down into those legs to make everything super secure. To finish this one off, I took it upstairs, mixed a little bit of DIY layered chocolate and queen bee with water to create this color paint to cover up the washers. Then I mixed layered chocolate with water to create a little bit of a stain to stain the plywood to make it match the legs in the basket much, much better. I'm making sure I get all the dust off of the basket with some canned air, or you could also use your air compressor and spray it that way. Then Sweet Pickins hemp oil is going to liven up the legs and also the basket as well. Yep, I'm rubbing hemp oil all over this basket to bring it back to life. It's going to put some moisture back into that material and give it a nice shine. I flipped the piece over. I put a nice heavy planted crock and blankets and books inside. That's how sturdy it is. I am digging this. In fact, I love it right here and I kind of want to keep it for myself. However, it is listed up on my site as well. What do y'all think about this elevated basket? Is this something you might try out? Drop me a comment below. I have a second basket, pretty much the same shape. I'm doing the same process. Now, the legs you see on both of these baskets are just pieces of salvaged wood. I did a layer of DIY beadboard all across the legs and the bottom to make it nice and uniform. And now I'm using some DIY dark wax to blend in a nice chippy finish. Now a little bit of Sweet Pickins dark oil wax is going to go all over this basket, and I'm going to let it sit for about 15-20 minutes. I even rubbed a little down on the legs. The basket was looking a little bit too orange. After the dark oil wax, it brought out some darker tones that helped blend in with the distressed tones of the legs and really brought it all together. I staged this one up with a plant and a couple of towels. What do y'all think? Which one is your favorite? For this last basket, I am putting a candlestick, this piece of wood from Savers that I thrifted, and this beautiful round basket together. I nail the basket down onto the candlestick first, a little bit of wood glue, and then I put the wood round on top. I also nailed that down. I put a heavy weight on it and let it all dry overnight, and it made it so secure. I took it upstairs and used that same beadboard to paint the candlestick and the wood round, which gave it a much more uniform look. It makes it look like the basket is now built into this candlestick. I did a little bit of distressing, more of that Sweet Pickins dark oil wax, and wiped it back right away so it wouldn't get too dark. I used the same dark oil wax all around the basket to bring it back to life. You can see how it really covered up any little nicks or dings in that brown basket. Let's take a look at our final project for the day. I have it staged up here, just cute with some decor in it. I would put this next to a piece of small furniture on top of a larger piece. But let me know how you would use this little mini basket post. Isn't it adorable?
I hope y'all enjoyed today's video. I always have so much fun getting out the tools in the garage, getting some wood and some metal, and making something out of nothing. If you did like this video, please give me a thumbs up and share it out with a friend. That's going to help my channel continue to grow. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the little notification bell next to it so you don't miss any new videos. And until next time, I'll see y'all later. Bye, friends. Hey, friends. So let's get to